Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the November 20th Wyndham Raymond School District Board of Directors meeting. It is 6:30 p.m. and we are in the Raymond Broadcast Studio. Mr. Howell?
Kate Briggs.
Here.
Jenny Cummings.
Here.
Marge Gavoni. Pete Hensler.
Here.
Anna Keeney.
Here.
Kate Levier.
Here.
Scott McLean.
Here.
Jenny Butler.
Here.
Will you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Howell, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are not any adjustments to the agenda tonight.
Great. Okay, time for public input. It's an opportunity for the public to comment on items not on the agenda. Seeing no public willing to do that, we'll move right on to Declan Danzig's Eagle Scout presentation. So that's you. Come up here. Yep.
Yeah, no, so just space bar works. So my name's Declan. For those of you who don't know me, I did the shed for the Raymond Elementary thing, and Jenny asked me to come out and do this presentation for you guys to show kind of how that worked and what I did for you, what I did for the community, sorry. So yeah. So hi, my name's Declan, currently 17. I live in Raymond, down the street off Thomas Pond Terrace. I go to school at Cheverus. I'm currently a junior. I first joined Scouts in Cub Scouts when I was in first grade. I'm currently the rank of Life, which is the last part before Eagle, and less than 2% of Scouts make it to where I am right now, so I'm really happy to be here. How the idea of me building the shed came to be, so I don't know how many of you know Miss Messer, Alyssa Messer. She's actually my neighbor, and she really helped me out with this. She told me about Raymond Elementary renovations, the landscaping, everything. And yeah, she pretty much came and we talked a bunch of times about certain qualifications, what needed to be done for that. So the first developing steps were Ms. Messer and I talked about dimensions, timelines, managers, locations, colors, things like that. So I don't know how many of you can see it, but this.
I need to give him a handheld mic.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Where is
that
the
one? No, that one doesn't. No.
He's coming with a mic.
He's coming. That's okay.
It's all right, Declan. You're doing great. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
It's close. Great, now we're on America's Got Talent. Hello?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, anyway, this is where the shed went, this little red circle right here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I tried. And yeah, so that's what happened with that. Please, next slide. Awesome. So I am not the best at geometric stuff. My old scoutmaster, Bill Diffenderfer, really helped me out with this a lot. So he is a very established woodworker and carpenter, and so he helped me out with the designs and the dimensions of the interior of the shed. I don't know if you guys already know, but the exterior of the shed the shed itself was a prefabricated shed, which came in parts, and I built that myself. I did that because of restrictions and school property laws and stuff like that. So that's why I did that. So yeah. And these are the rest of the dimensions. I don't know how much this really means, but so pretty much this was, if you were looking down like bird's eye view, so here would be the sled rack, which was why I made it out of PVC pipes. This is where the ball trough was, and then there's shelving all the way around. Yeah. So yeah, this was game day. This is when we showed up. So this is when we actually built the shed itself. We spent 3 days, one of them being in the rain. That was not a great day. And over 150 hours doing our thing. So yeah, and then the next couple slides are just pictures of stuff that happened. And that's my dog Lola for Oh, and that's Bill. He helped me out with this a lot.
That's the PVC pipe.
Yes,
That-
that's what that was. Yeah. Back arrow maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, so this was the PVC pipe
That's a
sled holder.
sled holder, and it's huge because the sleds get thrown in there, and this, you can
Yeah,
stack
so
them.
they're spaced about 9 inches apart from each other with the thickness of the PVC pipe. It was 1 1/4, like that, and then we bolted it to the floor so kids can pick it up and play with it. thought that was a better decision.
Very smart.
Thank you. So yeah, no, these are some of the guys who helped me out with this, and the sun was in our eyes, so we can't really take great pictures. Yeah, so this was the shed before. This was about a 4 by 6 by like 1.5. That's the one after. It is 8 by 8 by 10. And then this was the dedication. We did this on the Tuesday right after I finished the project. I know Jenny was in attendance. I'm not sure how many other people were in attendance, but this is it. So this is Bill, it's me, Jenny, and then that's Miss Messer, for those of you who don't know. And then I have the speech that I read on the night that I dedicated it, and I want to read it again for you guys because I thought it'd be a great idea. So I'd just like to take a moment to thank all the scouts and parents from Troop 800 for assisting me with the completing of my Eagle Scout project and for being here tonight for its dedication. I am very grateful to Alyssa Messer for bringing the idea of this project to me as part of her Raymond Elementary School playground revitalization. Even though I only attended Raymond Elementary School for kindergarten and first grade, 2 people that I met here played a significant role in my life and became extremely special to me. In kindergarten, I joined Cub Scouts and met Bill Diffenderfer. He was my scoutmaster from back then until he stepped down last year. He has been a mentor, a friend, and a reliable go-to guy for everything from the most generous personal recommendations to helping me plan out the designs for my Eagle Scout project. Then in first grade, I had a teacher who introduced me to poetry. Later in middle school, I wrote several poems that were published in books. This amazing teacher also adopted my dogs, Jackson and Haley, when I developed an allergy to them. Of course, you all know her from trick-or-treating every year on Main Street, but I am thankful to call her a longtime family friend. Miss Cummings, in many ways, a teacher, a dog lover, and a friend who has never failed to support me or to offer me kindness and advice. It is people like Janie Cummings, Alyssa Messer, and Bill Diffenderfer that make the community of Raymond such a wonderful place to live. Thank you all for the role you have played in my life and in the lives of others in our town. And with that, we dedicate the new Raymond Elementary School playground equipment storage shed as an honor to each of them.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Declan, I've not had a chance to get behind the building. Whereabouts, if I'm standing on the back of Raymond Elementary, is it on the far right or on the far left?
If you're standing on the playground,
Looking at the back.
the school,
Yep.
you know how the basketball hoop is way over
The new
there?
basketball, yep.
You know, there's like this little corner coming
Yep.
around. It's like right on the corner.
So is that entrance, the exit I saw, is that the cafeteria exit kind of off to the,
It's
Yeah,
that,
there's like the glass building with the cafeteria right there.
okay, yep.
And then there's that, like, I think that's computer lab, or it used to be a
Yep, the computer lab.
there. Yeah, and then there's the exit right next to the computer lab. It's up to the right of that exit.
Okay, I was just trying to picture in my head where it was.
Yeah. I mean, if you want me to go take a field trip.
yeah, I'm thinking no. Does anybody have any questions?
Great job, thank you.
Declan, great job.
Very much.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Declan. Thank you. Okay, District Achievement Report.
Oh, I get to follow that.
Yes.
Do you want to sit here?
No, I think I can be here.
Maybe the easier way to. It doesn't go far. So you're just gonna.
Okay, I can just click from here. Just sign it.
Or I can click it. Thank you.
I need one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah, please.
Oh, I don't have one either.
You know what, can I use
But
that?
maybe hand me that. You can look at the screen. Just
Oh,
Thank you. Does everybody get a photo?
Moira, do you want to explain why you're here?
So I am currently a tenderfoot in Troop 851, which is a small part of Troop 800. And I'm doing 3 Eagle required badges right now. Communications, citizenship in the community, and personal management. Right now I have citizenship in the community and communications with me. And I have to attend a school board meeting or something else. And right about
just talk to this so they can I know.
should I restart?
Sure.
Good practice.
As a matter of fact, can you stand up to the podium to really get the eagle
Come
badge?
here. How about you? I remember I invite you to do my presentation to this group tonight. You can probably rock it much better than I can. So go right up to the other.
Here, I'll take that.
You don't need that mic.
You can just use that one.
Adjustment to the
All right.
agenda.
Yeah.
So I'm currently a tenderfoot rank in Troop 851, which is a part of Troop 800. I am doing 3 Eagle required badges right now: personal management, communications, and citizenship in the community. Right now I have with me citizenship in the community and communications. And there's some pieces of them that are kind of the same. So I have to attend a school board meeting or something else, and I have to write a report about someone who was here and was explaining a presentation, and then I have to write about an issue and that someone decided to do, and then I have to interview someone that they chose was an issue that was important to citizens of the community.
Thank you. Good job.
Good luck.
Okay, now I get to follow that. Really set it up. So, thank you for the board for inviting me for our annual achievement report. For those that are new to our community, we do this once a year in the fall, usually November and December. And it's an extensive report that is a culmination of all kinds of demographics and pieces that we're going to get into. So before we begin with the slides that I've chosen, just so for community to understand that each of the board members has a notebook full of all this information. That entire notebook is also as a PDF on our district website that anyone has access to download, to read through. Also, the slides from tonight's presentation are already posted on the RSU website as well for anyone to see. And Vanna's going to hit the button for me tonight. So the goal of this report is to share an update with the school board and community of our schools regards to demographics, student learning, and building goals. Again, here is where the report can be found on our website, rsu14.org. It's pretty easy to find. And then going under departments, curriculum and assessment, and there's a whole tab that's annual achievement report. Also, the last 8 years of the achievement reports are also posted on there if anyone wants to go back and see those. So the full report does include our mission and vision, demographics, resources, which include budget information, student learning indicators, and new for this year, the main integrated youth health survey data, and then our building leadership reports. So just to ground us back in what we do, the mission of the Wyndham-Raymond School District is to ensure success for all learners. Our current vision is every student in our Wyndham-Raymond schools is actively engaged in authentic, individualized, and personalized relevant learning, designed and supported by highly effective, qualified, and passionate staff in a safe learning environment. Students explain why their learning is important, and they are competent in articulating their own progress as they reach ambitious individual goals. We saw that tonight with Declan, which is kind of cool. We hope all students are achieving that. And students learn in technology-rich environments, no longer defined by traditional boundaries, engaging with the local and global communities. And we talk about staff a little bit. I don't know how many parking lots I passed tonight that we're holding parent-teacher conferences again. Some of our staff, this is their second and maybe third night of engaging with parents, and it's a long haul right now, and I appreciate all that they're doing. We had a math committee meeting yesterday, and people are bouncing in and out, and we're there still to share their inputs on the important work we're doing with our students. So also our strategic plan, just as a reminder, has 3 main focus areas right now. One is design for learning. where students will be engaged in that authentic, personalized learning experience through to master standards. Environment for learning, this is where we talk about we want to continue to learn in a school environment that meets the developmental needs of our learners and supports the balance and quality of life. I'm really happy that I'm here tonight, and my sidekick, the new Christine, will be sharing about social emotional learning that we're going. This was a great tag team tonight, you guys,
Yeah.
when you set this up. And then our third main focus area is technology for learning. What do we have in the classrooms? How do we use that technology to enhance learning? And at our last board meeting, it was great for you to get a glimpse and a video that captured the learning that's going on with technology. And so our demographics, this was really cool. This is a brand new infographic that you will see. It's annually updated now by the Maine Department of Education. And they actually have recorded all of our information for every district and put them in these fancy infographics, so we can look at our student populations, we can look at our demographics, we can look at our academic performances at a glance. I will get more into that later in the report. Our high school graduation rates, and our teachers, which degrees our teachers are holding currently in the RSU. I do want to point out on these two slides, if you notice in the background, there is pictures. And I wanted to share with you that I wanted this year to honor what our students are doing. So these two pictures were taken by RES the Wyndham Primary School third grade teachers. They embarked on a project with Richie Vickers, who you met last time, and they did the history tour of Wyndham. And what they did is, traditionally in the past, they would visit places, hear about it, and went back. This year, they preempted all of the learning, and they did lessons on how to be a journalist and how to capture information. So students learned how to interview, they learned how to ask questions, they learned how to use their devices to take pictures and video, and then each student in all of the classrooms created a slide and shared their learning. And these are just two of the backgrounds that I chose to highlight, and you'll see some other pictures as we go through. But it was a great way to share with you an authentic way that students this year developed that tour of Wyndham in a totally different perspective, in a totally different way that they ever had in the past. And the feedback from the students and from the teachers was, let's keep going, this is really important. So along with that work, you heard last week that those students all have their own Google Classroom where all their information is shared, stored, and they're doing some partner learning and tweaking together. It's pretty amazing. If you get a chance to go visit our little ones doing this, it's outstanding. So the other piece we always highlight is our economically disadvantaged students, and we keep very close tabs on these numbers. This is a huge reminder to community that it's very important to fill out any free and reduced forms for our food program, because some of our federal funds are based whether or not our schools qualify. We dipped below 1 year at RES, and thank goodness they're right back where they are, because you get grandfathered for a year, and our Title I funding is really important when it comes down to that piece. So we keep track of these. You will notice there is a note on there that we are down. We were at 32.15 in 2018, and we've slowly been dipping down a little. And these numbers, as I speak with Jeannie, can be a little deceiving, because these are from October 1 counts, and then we have an onslaught of kids moving and transitioning. So I wish there was a way that that part gets captured as well and in these pieces, but they go by these numbers. So always encouraging, from hearing from Jeannie, from being in our schools, the work that is done in nutrition and the foods we offer are just outstanding for our kiddos. So our students with special needs, this is a very brief snapshot, and we broke it down into the category identification by disability for 2019. This is what our hardworking staff that you have supported through budget and just moral support on the ever-changing complex needs of our students that are coming into us. Many are transitioning in without us. We're looking at different numbers than we ever have in the past. And this is where we're landing right now. Of our overall, 17% of our students currently are receiving special education services. And so our enrollment trends, this is kind of a cool thing, because little sidebar, Christine and I are doing this budget course. And the assignment this week had to talk about how do you look at enrollment trends. And we were like, oh, wait, Bill, Mike Pelletier, I'm at the board. So it was like perfect timing. So we chart this out for you each year so we can look at trends, we can talk about trends. And so I encapsulated them very easily this year because RES and WPS, our littles, are up. And then we go to the next slide, and Jordan Small and Manchester are down. So if you remember, Manchester had that huge class last year that's now transitioned. So when we look at the middle school, Wyndham Middle School, and we look at the high school, those numbers are both up. But slightly, we have that big bubble class we know in 6th grade right now, and that's where our ups and downs are coming. But the charts are there to reflect the actual numbers of those counts, so as we look further into budget, we can do those pieces. So our other resource are budget trends, and this board is so graciously working with us each year, and we chart the last 4 years and we break it down. These are the actual articles when we go to vote to see the trends that we're seeing from year to year in regular instruction, special education instruction, CTE instruction. You noticed last year, now we have a 0 because that's been moved out. So this helps public to understand where our funds go when we make our budgets each spring, our overall expenditures, and then what percentage of our total budget goes to instruction and student support. What percentage is special education, facilities, transportation. Bill is here tonight. These are important pieces that we're trying to support. And it's kind of a nice way to take a look at the whole picture, and then before you go down into that small grain size, which we know we always do. So this slide is also updated. We finally have the average per pupil in the state of Maine. Cost to educate our children is $14,113. That is up from the last year when we met because they take every couple of years, they finally update. But what we do is it's important for us to realize, and I know Superintendent Howell will review this again when we get to budget time, but this is where we land as a district. And we always talk about that good value that we hopefully give to our students, our staff, and our community when we're preparing budgets and educating our students. And so this group is our Katahdin kiddos out on a hike that I just was in the fall theme this year, and the learning opportunities we're giving to our kiddos. But this is where we fall. So this is one of my favorite ones. You know my love for Jumpstart, our summer babies. And today I was down in kindergarten at primary school, and I actually got to see some of my friends from Jumpstart, and they were super excited to show me their new classrooms, and they were very excited to show me how many letters they had remembered of their sounds, and that school was really cool. And there's a lot more people on the playground, Miss Christine, than there was this summer. But we haven't seen the bubbles yet. So for those of you that saw our website, there was a picture with bubbles, and the last day of Jumpstart and Boost, they had bubbles on the playground, and they still resonate with that. But this summer, we had 29 students participate in the program. 100% of all our Jumpstart kiddos were at or above the benchmark at the end of the program for letter sounds. The average growth you'll see charted here. For the first time, this is an amazing statistic, and I'm very proud to say my own daughter helped out with this, but we had over 400 volunteer hours in the program this summer. The young lady sitting with the girls, her name is Emily Bartash, and she literally is about 6'6", and she was the best lap kiddo in the world. Her mom, Shannon Bartash, who's our standards-based interventionist at Raymond Elementary, ran our program this year. Melissa Blog got everything set up, did all our data points, recruited everybody, handed it over to Shannon for the summer, and it ran beautifully. We had students from Wyndham and Raymond helping. We had students from Bonnie Eagle helping, and it was a great opportunity this summer. I also have to be a great, huge shout out. We had some staff step up when our regular staff had some unfortunate health issues and needed to back out at the last minute, and people came in, and it was seamless. And the growth is amazing, and we're really excited about that piece. Then we have our Boost kiddos. So as a reminder to our community, these are our students who went to kindergarten last year, and they ended up at the DRA 3, and our benchmark is the 4, and we wanted to give them a little boost over the summer. They were right there on the cusp. And so the skills that are taught in Boost are our reading strategies, high-frequency words, phonics, phonemic awareness, and writing development. So these students also were able to write over the summer. And so we had 24 students attend the program. 90% of them met the level 4. 90% of them made growth on the DRA level from a time selection. 70% made growth in oral reading fluency, and 100% made growth in high-frequency words. So the big success to this program, and we talked about this last year, is the high rate of attendance. This was a group of kids that they showed up every day. We didn't have anybody like we did the year before of taking some time off, and it really showed. Another success is there's transportation to and from the program. We give them a healthy breakfast and snack, and there's that really home school connection. And our staff that works in Boost are wonderful. And they had the kids excited about coming to learn. They made every day fun, but they really honed in on those skills and individualized with those kiddos. They had data meetings and said, this one is lagging on phonemic awareness. We need a little bit more. And they were very flexible in giving those students what they needed. So now we get to the big kid data. And so this data has just come out, and I also want to share with you that we will be mailing home the individual student reports. They were just released by the department. There was a delay, and we're still in part of that delay. Unfortunately, they can't figure out why we can't download our individual student reports to then print out and send, but we're not the only district in that issue. There are many. So for community waiting for these scores, I'm not quite sure anybody's really waiting for them, but we will be sending them home as soon as we are able to have access to them. But in the nutshell, before we look at all these, I'm super excited because we know as a board and as a community we've worked really hard in mathematics. We went through a math audit because we were trending downward, and we've implemented a new program which has nothing to do with these scores. But last year we asked teachers we gave them, here is the scope and sequence. This is what we need to have done. And we know we can't hand everything to you. And our 2 math coaches worked tirelessly getting in classrooms before the MEA to do what are called math probes, to ask questions and have students explain answers in a way that is typical of how students are tested in this area. And if you look through, we are either at the state average in these state scores, or we're slightly above, or maybe 1 or 2 points below. So we are trending in the right direction is what I wanted to share with you. This is a huge jump, because remember when Mike was here talking to us, there could be an implementation dip, and nobody wants to hear that. We know it could happen. But I think this is a testament, even though it's a state test, that our students are showing some growth and we're moving in the right direction. And so we're pretty excited to have it reflected in this data. And so these are broken down for you by grade level, by subject. A reminder that grades 5, 8, and 11 also do the MEA for science. In your book, for those of you who are looking, Jordan Small is listed on 2 pages for grade 5 because I wanted you to be able to compare them with 4, 5, and I also wanted you to compare them when you look at both middle schools. So, and again, we are digging into the other data points your principals have are each strand is broken into components. So in mathematics, there's an opportunity to look at how we did on the section and problem solving. How did we do in the algebraic parts? And so we've taken those data for the past 3 years, and I've converted those so we can look at trends. Where are some trends that we need to continue to work on? We do that both for reading and for mathematics. And this is our 8th grade and our Wyndham High School group. Scott?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what is the difference between school score, RSU?
Okay, so the school one is just Jordan Small. Your RSU is Jordan Small and Wyndham Middle together. Okay. And then your state score is all 8th graders in the state combined in one.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
They're off because of the size of Jordan Small and the size of Wyndham Middle, but I think it's important to show both. I break it down by every category for all the schools so they have that plethora of information. Yep. So they can really hone in independently on where they are. And then it just reports out by that piece. Kate?
Are you starting to dig into the high school scores?
Yes.
Can I speak to that? Because that's actually something that Ryan is working on to take a look at that. The thing that's a little interesting with high school scores is that's based on the SAT. It's not based on an MEA score, so they're two different tests. One of the other differences you'll see, and if you go up to the 8th grade, with a population our size, and let's just go Wyndham Middle School, 1 or 2 points is statistically significant when you look at either above or below a state average. One thing that I've asked Ryan to look at is that with the SAT and being a larger score range, what is the statistical? Is it 5 points? Is it 10 points? When you're looking to be that difference, because MEAs tend to be a little tighter than maybe necessarily the SAT would be. The other thing you're going to see historically with the SAT is that sometimes based on some cohorts, some cohorts test high, some test low, and we get a little bit of a zigzag with that. But Ryan is working on it with not only math but ELA, digging into the questions for this particular group and this particular cohort. What were some of the issues as compared to previous years? I think another piece that you're going to see with Wyndham High School data is Christine's absolutely right. We had the math consultant who came in last year to work and to look at where things are happening progression-wise. Based upon where kids might be at and some of the experience they have, there's a little bit of a lag, and I know Wyndham High School teachers are working on some skills and making sure that they're filling in maybe some gaps or some deficits that may have occurred over a period of time. So Ryan is very well aware.
Is this something that you can update the board on once you kind of flush?
Absolutely.
And Kate, I gave you these scores as well because these are the ones that'll pop out publicly, and I didn't want you to be like, well, I wanted you to have what they were published out so you would understand it and then have this conversation. The one really exciting thing Ryan shared yesterday is first quarter failure rate is down 18% for freshmen in math.
Ooh,
So I know that sounds crazy, but when we're looking at, we're trying to work really hard with middle school, high school transition, and there was like another percentage overall was down, and that's exciting to us that we're not, kids aren't going in failing and we're pulling it up, and that's a small victory. It's great, and that's what we want to continue to see. And those high school teachers are working extremely hard on how do we get this for our kids. At our math committee meeting yesterday, the first thing we did, we had people, it's called a Padlet, but they were able to put their thoughts down, and we said, what were some overall themes that are things that are going well? And the big piece was kids are talking. They're having mathematical discourse, and teachers are not seeing this. I don't get it. Come help me, I don't know the answer. They're actually persevering and figuring it out. And so are our teachers. I said, that's another piece that we know that productive struggle is how students learn. And we've had to adopt that and say, as adults, we need productive struggle in your teaching because that's how you're going to learn and make sense. And so, there is so much hard work going on right now in mathematics and every subject area, but math especially right now because people want to do this well. But those are the big positive pieces. In fact, Patty has started a positive portal, and I'm going to invite her to share some of that information with you. But literally, a teacher, her subject line was, I cried today. And I thought, oh, God. And you read it, and it was, I cried today not because I'm sad. I'm cried because one of my students who traditionally doesn't like school is super excited about math. And he jumped out of his seat, and he said, I love doing math this way. Mm-hmm. And those short things are engaging kids, and that's what's exciting as we're doing this.
Can we just go back one more second? The other thing that Ryan's working on, and we'll go, or Mr. Karen for the public that's out there, science has been a struggle, and not so necessarily much for the content, but for the SAT is ELA and math. So kids sit for the SAT. We've found for a high school junior, because many are thinking about how this might impact them for schools, they're much more willing to take the SAT seriously than the science exam typically happens last week of April, first week of May, and doesn't have any connection to their SAT scores. It's not reported to the state, and we've had some difficulties over the years having kids, first of all, sit for it so that we can actually hit the 95%, but then also kids take it seriously. So Ryan's also working on some strategies to make that experience a little bit more appealing to students so they take it a little bit more seriously for that particular assessment. And I know that's not an issue that's just to Wyndham High School, but it definitely was a conversation that we had about that particular subject area. But it's a point of focus, And I think another thing that would be helpful to present would be some historical data with that, just to see some of the trends that have happened. But it's a point of focus for us.
So we do have some working committees, and you have the full list, and it'll pop up here. Sorry. And I broke them down a little bit because this is what we're doing live now. This will change throughout the year. And I've already attended to the K-12 Math Committee. We're working on year 1 of the math implementation with Ready Math and CPM Math at the high school. We will continue the PD and to follow the math audit. We have a K-8 writing committee. We have reviewed and streamlined the reporting out of writing. Parents will see that on their latest report cards. We are providing guidance for scoring. And also we are dedicated this year to collect and create anchor packets to calibrate grade level scoring pieces with staff. We also have a social emotional learning task force that Christine is going to speak about after my work tonight, and you'll get all kinds of information on that piece. We also are engaging in what's called Learning Sciences International. This is a leadership academy with the Greater Sebago Alliance that we belong to. Your administrative team is dedicated for the next 3 years to be working on leadership skills, to examine practices and develop metrics for measuring growth in our district. So we're hearing you as how do we measure this, what does this look like? This is helping us ground that information and be aligned across all of your buildings to do that work. We also have the curriculum committees you will be getting from me shortly. You need to understand that the DOE has reviewed all the content areas all at once, pretty much again. We're going to scaffold it out so you will know our timetable. For example, social studies, new standards came on board this summer. We have had staff go to the newly presentations of the standards. There are not major issues in those changes, but there are some issues. They're gathering information. We will meet together and we will make our recommendations to tweak our curriculum as needed. Right now, the health and physical education standards, this is the public comment period, has just closed. They will be coming to a writing group. Same with ELA and mathematics. And so we will follow their timeline, but we will follow it in a way that is not everybody changing everything upside down. So, but you as the board will have our schedule of what committee is up, when recommendations will be made, and we'll be presenting that to each of you. Trying to do it all at once is just not even feasible for anybody. And then our response to intervention committee is continuing to align practices and supports across the RSU. Beth Peavy, our assistant principal at Raymond Elementary School, is leading that work, and again, doing those pieces. And there's a great picture of Mr. Howell on his very first opening day of the RSU. So some other work in progress, which is really exciting. I spoke about the DOE, that's not really exciting, but we will cycle that in. Curriculum guides are up, K-5, all content areas are up at each of the class sites. The specialists now, your K-8 specialists, are actually in the process of writing their units for their curriculum, doing some great work, shared work on some Wednesdays and some early release days. We have our online professional development that we launched last year, which is a great opportunity. If you hit the professional development. Yes. Sorry. That's okay. It's an opportunity for our staff members can go down and any of these topics on the side, they can enter the Google Classroom. For example, we put in there the great presentation that USM hosted from Ben Strict, who did a whole piece on positive classroom practices, invaluable strategies to use with our students. Staff can go on there, they can have all the handouts, they have the activities, they can watch the 2-hour presentation that some of us were at from the comfort of their home. And we also have a system in the back end that awards them some contact hours for doing that new learning. So we continue to add to those pieces in there. And then something brand new this fall is the Greater Sebago Alliance under the leadership of Mr. Howell and all the other superintendents. We had our October in-service day, and for the first time, we were able to offer sessions for all art, music, PE, health, nurses, OT, PTs, social workers, librarians. They didn't have to be in our buildings. We shared with area districts. We had professional development planned by these teachers, delivered by these teachers. In 4 different districts, our staff were able to choose where they wanted to go, engaged in incredible learning. It was so well received that the Greater Sebago Alliance has granted us permission to run it again in March. Christine and I have a phone call tomorrow with the executive director of Mayford, which is Health and PE. She is so excited. She met us at Mayford, and she wants to help bring presenters down so that area teachers can engage in more development and pieces. Our librarians have taken off running. You know our librarians, they're spearheading this. They're going to meet with area librarians 4 times a year, share practices, share research. Art is going to be hosted in Brunswick, and the feedback from those people was like, this is the best professional development we've ever had. And the great thing is it's free. So we are organizing it in the background. It's like herding kittens, but it's okay. It all works. But to have these staff members so appreciative and excited about planning their own development was really inspiring for us. So we're going to continue and hopefully continue this for a long time to give people that opportunity. So this is new to the annual report. In a little bit of the background, I had the opportunity to go to MSMA, and Janie and Kate and I were in a session, and you know how you see something and you start chatting, and Janie said, this would be great information to share in our report. Kate
Blame it
did.
on me. That's
No, it was Kate. It was Kate. That's right. So I said, oh, this would be good. How do we do this? So the MIHAS data comes out every 2 years. So the data you're going to see tonight is from 2017. So when I was at the Mayford conference, they said it might be out this week. Well, it didn't appear because I was in a panic because I want to give you the 19 data, but I think we're going to make this work. Our students in RSU 14 took this survey back in February. So they're saying December will be when our results will be given to our schools. And so what I'm going to show you tonight is the data from 17, and then I will replicate these same infographics with your 19 data so you can see and look at comparisons. So for the public to understand, students across the state of Maine are asked to engage in this survey to give us some really important information. This helps support the need for maybe updated policies. As Kate and I were sitting there, we were listening to things that students are engaging in or students are reflecting on, and what do we do to help our students? It really goes under that design for learning goal for taking care of our community. This is able to start or continue conversations. It opens the door to work with new youth or parent groups. It raises community awareness on some local strengths and weaknesses. And allows us to dig deeper into some of these pieces. And so what you have is a small snapshot on the screen, but the board, you have the full details of this. The first one you're looking at are just Maine middle school students. And so we looked at different categories. Unfortunately, you have to think about our students drinking alcohol in middle school. And what is that compared to high school? Were you in the same room as someone who was smoking cigarettes? So they asked some pretty targeted questions of our students. How much did you exercise? Have you ever been bullied? Have you ever seriously considered attempting suicide? And so they collect a lot of information, and then it's our jobs as districts to take that information and do what we would like to do with it. So you have the Be the Influence Coalition in our district, and they use this data as well. And they plan some things, and they try to help and reach out to students to know that we have supports for them. And so they have these great infographics, and there's also one for high school. The other thing up here you see a screenshot is the Department of Education also puts out how you can help Maine students stay healthy. And they give lists of resources for communities who might not know where to reach out to get help for our students. So we're very lucky. Our health teachers, and we have some new health teachers this year, are very focused on this report. They're having conversations with kids. We saw the presentation at Mayford, and a lot of people are waiting for the vaping information because it's all over the news. Where do our kids stand on this? How many students are thinking about vaping or using those products? I also put in for you, which you can see easier if you look at the slides up close, these are some of the questions. I wanted you to have samples of questions so you could see what was asked
Christine,
in here. Yes?
when you do the 2019 update, and I only know this because I was in this report
Yeah.
for work today, can you give us the Cumberland County
Yes.
breakdown?
Yep.
Just because I think it would be a little bit more relevant.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So the last one you have, can you go one? This one. So this is the one that is our middle school and high school together. So the other ones did the states, and I was trying to figure out a way, how can we show our middle school and high school? So I have to preface this by saying Jordan Small's data is aggregated into the state data, but they don't report out Jordan Small as a school separate data because of the small cohort of students. So, but their information is ingrained in the state data, which makes it a little bit harder. They give some data points out to the school, but not all of them because of privacy issues with our students. But this last one is the one that, that I made that actually has, when it says middle school, that's our middle school students. And when it says high school, those are our high school students. And so this is a way for you to just to get a snapshot. It's the full page one. Yeah, Janie, you've got it right there. That's the one.
This one?
Yep. So example, physically active for 60 minutes every day in a week. 38% of our middle schools say yes. They don't ask that of high school students. But if you look at use marijuana at least once in the past 30 days, middle school 2%, high school 25%. So I think this gives us a good picture to say which numbers are higher in middle and which are higher in high school. And I also want to do a second page of this for you because there was another way they looked at it, so you know as a community, what are some ways that we're doing some really great things? This is another way to do that piece. So parents talk to me about what I am doing at school. 86% of middle schools kids reported they do, drops to 78 at the high school. Feel that I matter to people in my community. Middle school data is 68, Wyndham High School 57. So you start to see some things, and I think it's telling, and it gives us an indicator as adults of, so what do we need to improve on that? Do we dig a little deeper with our high school students and say, how would you feel more connected? What would make you feel more connected in our community? So this is to provide you with a snapshot, and I think Kate and I had a really nice discussion where we're like, we focus on our academics, we also should be focusing on our student data as well. Like, what else is this telling us about our whole child and what's going on in our communities, good or bad, and how do we support our students? And so as soon as the data is in, I will send, I don't know if Chris will send it out in a SOOPS report, or we will get you, I'll diagram it this way as well. I'll add the Cumberland County piece on it. You can actually go on the department site and it's interactive, and you can literally click on any county and it will do all these funky things and give you all the data, which you get in there and literally it gets overwhelming. So I was trying to snapshot it a little bit for you. But know that behind the scenes, your Be the Influence, your health teachers are digging much deeper, looking into some of the questions and the data that they've collected. I was shocked, and maybe Kate, you can speak to this too, of how many schools chose not to do the survey, and their health teachers were really upset. And they just said, we need this data, and you know, even the department said we can't make it mandatory, we wish we could. And some schools said, well, we do too much testing, they don't need another test or whatever. And people that are supporting the children are like, but this is, kids are gonna answer this stuff real. And they want us to know, you know, where they are. So it was very informative. I believe that the supports that they're trying to put in, and that was another big piece of why Christine and I attended that conference, is they had a lot of information on social emotional learning, a lot of information on this data that we had just seen, Kate, at that presentation. That little spark has kind of opened up a whole new kind of section in our annual report that we should visit each year. So there'll be more to come with this, and you can add it. As soon as it's done, Chris will get that piece out. And the last part is the leadership reports that each of your building principals put in. These are done every June before they leave for their little summer break, but they address issues prompted by the superintendent on curriculum alignment, community engagement in each of their schools, how they connect to the strategic plan, and they also list, which is wonderful, the accolades and accomplishments in each of your individual buildings. So that's your very last section in your notebook. You can have this one, sorry.
Not mine either.
Oh.
Yeah, and mine doesn't have it. We'll make sure you get one.
No,
I was like,
I'm sorry.
Speaking next door.
Okay.
We'll get you one.
They are on the website too, if you really need to read it tonight, Kate. I apologize for that. So these are the pieces. I'd love to answer any questions, or you can give me some lists of some things you'd like me to follow up in. It's a lot of information, I know that, so.
Thank you.
Jenny,
Yes.
may I?
Yes.
I would like to ask, is there any way we might be able to add in the leadership reports, if there is a spot where they can add things that they know that their building needs to improve on? It would be nice if we actually had some of that information on there as well, things that they know that they need to work on to, get better at. Any areas whatsoever. That would be helpful. And then, if I may continue, just one more. The last piece that we were talking about, I don't know how anybody else feels, but yeah, this graph right here, I'm assuming that we'll probably end up leading into this with the next topic on the agenda. The suicide numbers really scare me. And I think they should scare everybody.
Yeah, they do.
So,
Yeah. It's hard data, Scott. It's really hard to
yeah,
look at.
that's a tough one for me to swallow.
Yeah.
So,
And when we do our suicide awareness training with staff, NAMI puts out the statistics, and it's hard to watch, and it's hard to listen. And it's such a good training to help our staff understand if you suspect anything,
Yeah.
we need, who do we go to, what do we do? It's scary as a parent, it's scary as an educator, but these are real. Kids are responding because this is where we are right now. So I agree with you.
yeah. Do you mind if I add one more
Go
piece?
right ahead.
All right. I think it was it? Student learning indicators, where we were looking at the MEA data results.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, does Jordan Small have Ignite?
They don't have Ignite. They have, it's not called an Ignite program, but they have an intervention teacher.
Okay.
Halftime, and they schedule, there are times that are scheduled in the day that if students need intervention, targeted intervention in math and reading, they go and get that, and then they go back to class. So
Okay.
they're scheduled, they're small enough to morph it in and not stop the whole school. It's a sheer number piece.
Okay. Because it looks like, just by what I'm looking at, coincidentally, Wyndham Middle School is doing better at ELA than Jordan Small, and I was wondering if that was probably because of an Ignite program that was, no?
No, it's just the way, it's also a statistical number when you're looking at kids.
Okay.
How many versus how many overall kiddos. They get the same pieces. The other piece I forgot to mention about the MEA, you might have seen Commissioner Pender's notice. We will be taking a pause on essay writing for the MEA this year. Students took the essay last year, and unfortunately, the company that scored all those pieces, there were 20,000 essays that were not scored across the state of Maine. So students will not, the essay scores are not reported in this year's data, and Pender has made the very wise decision to put a pause on that part of the test. One of the things she is thinking about, which excites me as an educator, is bringing back our teachers to look at essay writing and bringing us, we used to go to USM, and anybody who's about my age is going to remember these incredible pieces. We would go and we would read student writing, and we would create our anchor packets, and then we would spend a couple days reading our own, our state of Maine writing, and we would calibrate and score them ourselves. And I think that that's the practice we need to get back to.
Would you define anchor packet?
Sure. So what it be is Christine and I are reading this paper. I believe it's a 3. She believes it's a 2. We have to sit down and talk about it. Why is this a 3 or why is this a 2? really honing down on the rubric that we're using and making sure we're understanding we're on the same page. And so anchor packets, you could say to your students, we're going to do a persuasive writing piece, and here's a 3. Let's take it apart. What do you notice about this lead? What do you notice about this organization? Let's look at a 2. Why is this a 2? Oh, well, the lead is, there's no leads here in the beginning. They need to add the leads. So it actually helps you define and teach. It's a teachable moment with your students, and they have a model for what you're trying to get them to do, rather than here's a rubric and here's what you need to do. Here's a 4th grader from last year that wrote this paper, and here's what I'm shooting for. So that is that work that needs to be. It's hard. It takes longer than spitting it into a computer. I don't know how they scored them, I'll be honest, but I think there was a big sigh of relief across, I know at least Southern Maine when I worked with other peers. And then we're hoping we can get back to that, because that's authentic about our kids. And that's what we're looking for. And to give you timely results as well.
I think one of the things they found in the writing was that, I believe they were using artificial intelligence to do the scoring, was that it wasn't scoring predominantly on the upper end of kids.
Yeah.
So the kids who were writing the essays that were a little bit more elaborate, or that were a little bit more in depth, that it was having a more difficult time with that, and so those were getting kicked out and then not scored. So it was skewing downward even the scores, and I believe it was 20,000 or so
20,000.
essays that didn't. So the state has canceled that contract with that particular vendor for doing that, and Christine's right, they're going to be going and doing a different model for when it comes to writing. I think it's some disappointment for us, though, is that we've talked in the past with the board that it's nice to have consistent data measures so that you can see whether or not you truly are making growth or whether or not things are declining. And when assessments change or when there's a lack of data, it's difficult, especially when there's been an emphasis placed on writing and improving students' writing scores, and then not having a data set to be able to then compare to. So it is disappointing. It is disappointing, but it was definitely a smart decision by the state that missing those many scores, or that many, I should say.
Kate?
Is there anybody else? Oh. Would you refresh my memory why we are no longer using the NWEA?
We are using iReady Diagnostic, which came on board this fall. I didn't piece anything for you together because I'm going to come back to you later, because we've taken the fall assessment and we have no data. We only can show you, oh, here's how we did. We have no ability to show you the growth or targets or pieces like that. And so instead of throwing it in here with this tonight, I'm going to come back to you and share the progression. So our iReady Diagnostic is directly tied to our Ready Math program. The reports that are given for our teaching staff are much more specific than the NWEA was. We test both reading and mathematics. So, and actually in mathematics, it will share with the student and the teacher, this is where you are in algebra and algebraic thinking, and here are the direct lessons where the student needs to be engaged in, which match exactly what we're teaching. It also gives the ability for our students to go on what's called a pathway. So students have the ability for up to 45 minutes a week to work in their own pathway assigned by their teacher. So if they're backfilling or they need a little push further, they're able to work through, and it's the math program we're actually teaching. So it isn't taking them onto something else that then they have to crosswalk back into. So after we get another round of assessments in, I'll be able to come and share with you what those components look like.
What about ELA?
Same thing with ELA. So ELA, we don't have the program, but the actual what students need to work on, what their strengths and weaknesses are so specific for a teacher. Our teachers were like, oh my God, this is great. It's telling me we need phonemic awareness and we need these
So
pieces.
iReady is both?
Yes, iReady is both for ELA and math.
I'm crossing my fingers
Me too.
that we have several years of consistent data.
Yeah,
Because we don't right now.
right.
And I really am looking forward to having a long view of how some of our programs are working.
And that's part of the Leadership Academy we're doing, is what are those matrix that we need to stay with, that we need to use, and how do we report those out in a meaningful way that is streamlined to get us the information back that we need. So our kindergartners will start iReady in January. January is our next testing piece. And so we don't put them in at the beginning, but people enjoyed they said, wow, this was a lot better. We really liked this. The kids liked it. And I'm so impressed with the information that we have on our students to do that work. So, Pete?
Outside of the testing data,
Yeah.
do we examine the grades? Like, for instance, last year, the average math grade of the students at the high school was a 3.5. And then trend that data and then say the year before that, the average math
We haven't
score.
done that. We'd have to probably at the high school level do that by courses, I would think, Chris. So you,
I actually have more of high school data, was always looking at failure data and
Yeah.
failure data across courses to see where those percentages fell, and specifically tracking cohorts
Yeah.
for freshman, sophomore, junior year, and senior year, but looking at what's the percentage of kids who are failing first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and then developing individual plans. We never ran straight average grades for, Algebra 1, geometry, here's what there's going to be.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way, I mean, and it wouldn't have to be per course, but I mean, if you identify your courses just in general and say, this is a math course, this is a math course, this is a math course, and aggregate those grades. I mean, it might be a lot of work, it might not be something that's simple, but I mean, like we said, this testing
Right.
data is not consistent, but
Right.
the actual grades that our students are achieving in our schools is something that we have, data on. So just a thought, I don't know, maybe we can
And also
brainstorm on that at some point.
it's a good reminder for parents as well. I mean, I'm a parent. My daughters have taken the MEA. They've taken all kinds of things, and what I believe is when you get one of those reports, take a look at it and say, does this match what my teacher, my child's teacher is telling me? Is this match the work habits I see that my child is doing? And that's your best anchor as a parent. That's the first thing I always ask. I sat with a teacher today. We were looking at eighth grade math scores that she was putting in, and I said, so what does this, if you were to look at these kids, would you say these are the scores of where your gut tells you where they are? And she goes, yeah, this is where it is. And so sometimes we have to, I mean, it's not scientific at all, but it's one of those gut checks you can do. I know as a mom, when I get my kids' stuff, I'm like, yep, oh, yep, and oh, yeah, I remember that. No, you're not there yet. And it's because it's that triangulation. What are they doing at home? How are they attending to their learning? How are they performing in their classroom assessments and what their teacher is telling me? And then what are they telling me on their standardized piece? If those three are in line, it's giving you a pretty good picture of your child. So.
Sorry, I do. I'm jumping from high school now, I'm going all the way down to the jump program?
Yep, jump rope,
Jump rope?
jump start, jeez.
Jump start. Is it
Sorry,
jump start?
jump start.
Okay. And first of all, I'm just curious of the 29 and jump start, and you might not have this information right now, but curious how many were Wyndham and how many were Raymond?
I don't have that,
Okay.
but I can get that for you, Kate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for Boost as well.
Yep, sure.
And then you had done a presentation for us, taking the long view of
Yep.
the success, and are we still continuing?
Yep, we will continue that, and I'll get that to you as well.
Okay,
So,
perfect,
yep.
thank you.
Jenny, did you have a? Okay, we're all set. Thanks, Christine. This is a huge amount of work, and we really appreciate
I will
it.
get those pages to you, I'm sorry, I don't know how.
Okay. Okay, so,
You want me to drive?
next is Christine Frost-Bertinet, who is going to do a social emotional learning committee report. If she can speak, 'cause- yeah.
So let me know if you can't hear me, if I have a coughing fit. We'll just turn it over to this Christine. You'll never know the difference. So thank you for highlighting that, Scott. I too have been lasering in on that in my work I would say over the last 5 years. Our attention has shifted dramatically to looking at the needs of the whole child. And so one of the challenges that we face when we step into something like a social emotional learning initiative is that it's seen as one more thing. And I want to highlight that that's not the stance, not the approach that we're taking. It's really about supporting educators in this very difficult work of meeting the needs of all learners, but also recognizing that social, emotional, and academic learning are so closely tied together. So if you take a look at this quote from a report that I'll talk briefly about later on, the report is from A Nation at Risk, if you all remember that one, to A Nation at Hope. It says the promotion of social, emotional, and academic learning is not a shifting educational fad. It is the substance of education itself. It is not a distraction from the real work of math and English instruction. It is how instruction can succeed. So we'll get back to that a little later. But what I'd like to start with is just, we're going to walk through some research around social emotional learning, thanks to the folks at CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning, taking a look at national and global research and compiling meta-analysis of looking at hundreds of studies and thousands of students to give us some highlights of what we need to know about what social emotional learning is. So let's just watch a 2-minute video that kind of captures what this means. I'm going to click on that one right there. Yeah.
Social emotional learning is essential.
It's the tools that kids need to be resilient, to be problem solvers, to be good people.
SEL is really about the holistic development of young people.
SEL is trying to bring a balance to the individual and what are the personal competencies you need to develop to be successful. How do you pull them all together so that kids can relate and navigate the world more effectively?
The myth was that knowledge was information that could be bolted onto a brain like any other kind of mechanical part. The truth is, knowledge is constructive. The truth is, all learning is relational. The truth is that emotion drives attention, and attention drives learning.
Social and emotional learning is about how you do school. It's about what the student experiences, what the student learns, how teachers teach.
We can think about schools and classrooms, out-of-school time spaces, families, etc., as places where there's an exchange of knowledge about the world, knowledge about yourself, and knowledge about the other persons that you're interacting with. All of those kinds of experiences, I think, help form and expose and shape the ways in which young people understand themselves and other people.
And we start talking about the whole child. Does your child understand self-awareness? Do they understand social awareness? They make good decisions. Are they responsible? And then we start talking about what that applies to academics and looking at all the essential skills we need them to be successful in life.
Children learn when their heart is open, engaged, connected, and filled with purpose.
Learning is magical, and through SEL, we can create conditions that allow all kids to access that magic.
So we're going to start with a little bit of a research walk, and then we're going to transition into looking at the impact of SEL on the whole child and academic performance, among many other pieces that were highlighted in Christine's report. And then we're going to get specifically into the work that the district team has started, where we're headed this year, and in subsequent years where we hope to be. So when we think of 21st century skills or college and career readiness skills, we're really talking about those employability skills, what employers, what universities are looking for. And so they've grouped them into 3 categories here: effective relationships, workplace skills, and applied knowledge. And within those, they've broken it down farther into these sort of subcategories. But I've given you, after your PowerPoint handout, the very next one you should see in your packet has them broken down to that next level. And so if you take a moment to scan, for example, under interpersonal skills, the idea of understanding teamwork and being able to work with others, we know how critical that is. Personal qualities, adaptability, flexibility, demonstrating a willingness to learn, integrity, professionalism. And so it goes on to define, from financial literacy to how we utilize information, demonstrate critical thinking and creative practical problem solving type skills, those communication skills of listening actively, comprehending written material, etc. So it drills down, and what Castle has helped us with is defining these 5 core competencies of social emotional learning. These 5 areas are self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, self-management, and relationship skills. And some states have really jumped into that in thinking about how those skills apply and can be woven into your core academic subject areas, because we know that those are the skills the workforce and college are looking for. So the science links social emotional learning to student gains. And so back in 2011, and there's more current data that we'll get into here shortly, but in 2011 there was a meta-analysis of 213 studies at that time involving school-based universal SEL programs, including over 270,000 students in K-12. So when systems had social emotional learning programs embedded within all that they do, the core academics and beyond. And so they saw an increase in social emotional skills, improved attitudes about self, others, and school, positive classroom behavior, and an 11 percentile point gain on standardized assessment results, and a decrease in conduct problems and emotional distress. So we're just going to look at a very brief piece here that drills down into the data a little more.
I'm a data guy, I like numbers, and we have a lot of evidence that social emotional learning has made a difference.
We had a graduation rate of 62%. Last year we put up a record-breaking 84%.
Over the last 5 years, our expulsions have been cut in half.
We were suspending about 13,000 days of out-of-school suspension. We were 10 times the average for any school district in Ohio. And within that first year alone, we were able to reduce our out-of-school suspensions by 55%.
Attendance rates went up. We know that attendance is directly correlated to academic improvement and achievement, but it also had other outcomes that were extremely important, which is students feeling more connected to schools, educators having to think outside the box, helping students overcome some of the challenges that are in their life.
There's an 11-to-1 return on investment. So for every dollar invested in programming around social emotional learning, we're seeing that they're saving $11 on remedial programs, dropout prevention. There's lots of reasons that people are coming to the conclusion that this is something that we need to be prioritizing.
And so that video captures research findings from multiple fields and sources. I just want to highlight where they're drawing this research from, and I've given you an article that goes a little bit deeper into some of this. They're pulling from neuroscience research, student achievement research, nationally and globally, health, employment, psychology, classroom management, learning theory, economics, and prevention of youth problem behavior. So they're really going, casting a sort of a wide net to pull from different angles in order to help us understand the importance and the potential impact that social emotional learning can have on a school system and on our communities. So we're not going to read all of this to you, but you'll see that in each of these, and I can send this out to you where to read the reports, but in each of these impact areas, there's a report, sometimes contains a meta-analysis of many studies. So if you want to delve deeper, let me know, and I'll get this out to you and I can show you specifically where to go. So the first one, SEL leads to academic outcomes and improved behaviors. 11-to-1 return on the investment, so meaning for every dollar invested, there's an $11 return on that investment. You have multiple benefits for students coming with a range of needs, certainly, and there's a study that goes quite deeply into that. Improving life outcomes, a national study published in the American Journal of Public Health highlights the life outcomes, healthier communities. It can help reduce poverty, improve economic mobility, and the impact is long-term and global. And so if you look at that last line there, there's a 2017 meta-analysis of 82 research studies involving 100,000 students worldwide. So this is beyond just looking here in our district or in the state of Maine, nationally, but globally. And so the next slide, where is Maine with this work? So all 50 states now have preschool social emotional learning competencies or standards. Within the 50 states, 11 states have extended preschool competency standards to early elementary. 18 states have a K-12 social emotional learning competency standards approach, and 21 states have SEL-related web pages that provide all sorts of information and guidance. But Maine is one of 14 states that actually, back in 2012, clearly articulated these social emotional learning competencies and standards. And we've got those guiding principles that ground us in sort of the whole child look at our work with students. So where are we? So we have a team of district representatives from every school within the district, but here you'll see the multiple voices coming to the table: social work, school counselors, school psychologists, and nurse representation, regular education, special education, administrator, district, community board, and adult learning. So Kate and Janie are joining this important conversation and working with Laura Morris, Be the Influence, so some community partnerships. And we want to grow that. But right now our work is to look at, and you can go to the next slide, Christine, look at these summary recommendations from A Nation at Risk to A Nation at Hope. And this was produced by the Aspen Institute. It was a National Commission on Social, Emotional, Academic Development. And they found these 6 areas that systems need to examine to look at the quality, the presence of, the impact of social emotional learning woven into our work with kids. So that group will be looking at these 6 recommendations, in addition to the wonderful work that's already happened for years in this district, from programs to workshops, trainings, staff who have just been self-motivated to explore and learn. So we have a wealth of knowledge and information that we want to capitalize on and then continue our learning as we have a long-range plan. We're getting there. So I won't read these to you. We'll go to the next one. So where we are, phase 1.
So phase 1, we have established a team, district and community representatives. We did that in September. We've identified district resources by school. That was from the work we did in October. We've identified training and background knowledge and skills. We have actually a really cool sheet that we put down who's going to what trainings, and they come back and they report to us. So we're sharing the learning as we're out there investigating what's out there that we can use and learn from. Our alignment with the strategic plan started in November. So we are working with our existing strategic plan. How is this fitting under? What are the connections that we're making? And then conferences, the absolute information gathering and the ongoing support that we're giving to staff to go out there. Phase 2, where do we want to be? We're developing our vision and core beliefs around SEL. It's so funny, when Christine and I were planning this, there were times where we just needed to let the group continue to work and have those conversations. And so we're like, we'll back that timeline up a little because the discussion is so rich. We're also examining, between now and February, we'll be examining current RSU 14 data and trends. We will be deciding on what data we'll collect to celebrate our success and inform our next steps. We'll be developing SMART goals to guide our work, which will be outcome-based. And we will examine current research and examine the educational models in Maine and beyond. So this is kind of like our next couple of months' work that we are planning on doing. And how do we get there? So we're mapping out a long-range plan. This isn't a kind of like a one-and-done committee. We have guest speakers and presenters for information gathering. We actually have a presenter coming on December 3rd. We are super excited to bring this doctor up from Merrimack College who was so inspirational. We were able to see her live, and we kind of attacked her after and said, we have this group, and we just wanted to know what you think about Maine. And she's extremely excited to come up and share with us and share to the whole group the work that they're doing. We also will be creating a 3-year plan and accompanying SMART goals that supports the vision, and then our alignment with the strategic plan and recommendations for our next strategic plan that we'll be undergoing.
This cold has been a rough one. So I wanted to turn your attention to, I included highlights from what different states are doing to really address this. And if you go to the back side of the second page, you'll see a box. Oh, you're in this, sorry. The title of the article, do you see it's Innovation in Action? Yep. And the back side of the second page gives you the Castle District Theory of Action, focus areas, and key activities. There's a box, do you see that? So the good news, as Christine just went through the 3 phases of the work this year to start this sort of systemic conversation, as there have been pockets of this work happening at all levels. But the good news is we're in alignment with the recommendations that have come out of all this research that the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning has done. And so we have and are in the process of many of the bulleted points on the left-hand side, and we will begin to touch upon the bullets on the right-hand side. So the shared vision, the developing a district team with representative stakeholders, communicating social emotional learning as a district priority is critical to this. And then how we help people understand the importance and the connection to those employability skills, that those sort of soft skills coupled with the hard skills, if you will, that we really need people to come possessed with all of those, so that we can have children with resiliency and adults with resiliency, and all of those pieces that we want as they exit our system. And so we're certainly in alignment with the recommendations, and we'll continue to work together and collaborate, but this is a long-term project and plan. So questions, I'll open it up.
I have, go ahead. And some of this is because I have been, for work, have been working on that Novo Foundation grant. A big piece of that grant is to also look at SEL and equitably,
yes.
And to really have equity kind of at the forefront of this, whether it's socioeconomic, racial equity, sexual orientation.
Yes.
I just want to, I was kind of hoping I'd see something, just again,
Yes.
part of it is because I've been living this for the past month or so, but to really making sure that we are thinking about this in terms of equitably serving
Yes.
our students, and I don't want to say that word anymore because I'm getting tongue-tied.
I'm glad you brought that
Okay.
up, Kate. So one of the pieces we talked about was that we'd have periodic updates on this team's work. So tonight was about really framing the why and the research and the potential impact. And some of our work to date, we've met several times this year. But the next meeting, December 3rd, we have someone coming to present about social justice and looking at equity from multiple lenses. And so it's exactly what you're talking about. You'll see throughout the literature I've shared with you tonight, and if you go to the Castle site, the word equity runs through. That's a common theme. And it's hard because it asks us to sort of put our past experiences or our current beliefs, and it really develop empathy and step into the shoes or perspective or how somebody else might experience what for us is good and for them presents a challenge. So equity's big, and that's our next session, and hopefully the next time I report to you I'll have some nuggets to share about that conversation.
But please feel free to join us on that date, Kate.
If I can, I will.
Yes,
Yeah,
December
thank you.
3rd at Wyndham High School in the library, 320.
320.
Okay. That
You're
date
welcome.
sounds familiar for something else, but I'm not sure what.
And the woman who's presenting is Sarah Bennis. And she presents quite beautifully about the importance of equity, conversations in schools, K through 12.
Well, if we get that grant, we'll be coming to you for her name.
Just one question that I had. I happen to notice that there was one of the things here, return on investment. For every dollar spent, $11. I don't remember. Can somebody remind me, how much did this cost the district?
How much did social emotional work?
Yeah.
I don't think we've actually spent anything to date.
Okay.
Other than some professional development work.
All right, because that terminology was throwing me off. Did we spend any money on?
No. So that's a 2015 Columbia University conducted a study to look at the financial impact of social emotional learning built into systems. And so their study said there's an 11 to 1 return.
Okay. I thought I missed a meeting somewhere.
No. And I mean, if you think about it, and this is common sense often, but if you invest in a culture where students feel safe, supported, and feel like needs are being met, then education goes up, improvements go up. And I think one of the things they talked about, and they also shared in the video, is that money that you're paying for interventions or for other student supports don't become as necessary. It's similar to the discussion with preschools, and I think that's almost 120 times. So for every dollar you spend in a preschool program, you get $120 back in lifetime incarceration rates and other poverty type things. It's just some huge investments that you can do. So, part of this is we want kids to feel safe, comfortable. We also know that students have experienced different levels of trauma as they enter our schools, and are we actually being sensitive, and are we being aware of those things, and are we able to help students build some resiliency so that they can overcome some of those parts and some of those pieces so that they become successful in our schools. And so there are some staff members who do many of these strategies very easily, and others with a little professional development can develop some techniques and strategies to just improve what's going to happen in their classroom. So, and just think about, as a board, last year you put in an additional social worker for the middle level and for Manchester, and making sure that you're meeting the needs of students. So, already some things in place, and I think RSU 14 over the years has been very student focused and trying to meet the needs of kids and where they're at. So again, this is just creating some awareness and some understanding of how do we do it even better.
Okay. So it kind of goes in as professional development for teachers. Is that what I understand? Will there be links up where teachers will be able to go in and kind of review some of this material? Is that how that's going to work?
Do you want to
So the big part of when I showed you that online platform, the biggest thing we always ask staff at the end, what else do you want to see? And it's like, give us more information on trauma-informed practices, give us more information on ACEs. So we're building that repertoire. We're also bringing Sarah up to see how the committee feels. Do you think this would be great to have her present to staff on our March in Service Day? So Christine and I are building our March Day as we need to do some math, continue with math, but can we offer the rest of the day different sessions on this learning? Because it isn't a cookie cutter, I'm going to go in and teach social emotional learning from 8 to 8:30. This is, how do I as an adult change my practice of what I do with kids? How does it make me understand students better and understand myself? As adults, we're struggling with so many things that are swirling around in our society right now. We need to help our staff to help them be able to help our children. And so what we're doing is being able to share with the committee, getting their thoughts on it, because we have many practitioners in the field. What might work for elementary might not work for high school. So what is it that we find is the work that needs to be done now to help grow our staff in this area? And they're asking for it. They are recognizing I'm stuck, I don't know what to do with kids, they're coming in really different. How do we help them in this learning? So it'll be a really broad approach and some targeted pieces, Scott, but learning all the time with that.
And if I could just go add one more thing, and I think it's important that, and we really need to emphasize this as a district, because the last thing that any of our staff now need right now is something on their plate. But, I mean, even simple strategies of, you have some students in your room spending some time learning their interests. I mean, someone is going to be far more engaged if, my teacher knows my name, can pronounce my name correctly, knows a little bit about me, come in the room and say, how's your boat doing, or how's this going? And so small strategies that can be integrated into any subject area. I saw you in the play last week, did a great job on this particular part, or saw this, and ways to engage and draw students in. Doesn't necessarily cost any money, doesn't require a program, but it truly, one of the most important things that we know through research is that kids should feel and have a strong relationship with at least one adult in a building. Someone should know our kids, and so how do we start to build those relationships? How do we build some of those, again, those skills that some people come naturally, and they naturally want to know about others, and because really, if we can invest some time in that, achievement's going to go up, behaviors will improve, attendance will go up. And it's just a way of recognizing that, school should be warm, inviting, caring places that are supporting our kids and that they want to be there. So I think it's a great reminder for all of us on some of the little things we can do to make people feel comfortable.
Ready to move on?
Yeah, I think.
Thank you, Christine.
Yes.
Thanks
Well done.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Okay, lease purchase, John Deere mower with attachments. Yeah.
Good evening. Bill Hanson, RSU 14, Director of Facilities. Kind of a hard act to follow. This is a replacement for our Toro Groundsmaster that was 11 years old. We lost the transmission on it this spring. And we spent quite a bit of time looking at various options to replace this equipment. Now, this equipment provides snow removal in the wintertime, has a cab and a snowblower on it, and it provides mowing in the summertime. So it's a year-round piece of equipment, so it gets used pretty heavily. And those of you may not know this, but our ground staff focus their time on our walking surfaces and treatment to reduce our slip, trips, and falls. We've seen a pretty large reduction in our injury experience, and our losses is associated with that. So that is our focus. So this is an important piece of equipment to continue to support that work, to keep these walking surfaces free of ice and snow as best we can in these challenging winter times. So the equipment has a mower, it has a snow blowing deck, and also has a snow brush. And one of the things we want to try to start doing, particularly in our Wyndham campus, is that our sidewalks are not all nice and flat and even. There's crevices and cracks, and there's depressions, and those areas become real challenges with snow removal, and the fact that a plow or a snowblower is going to leave residual behind because we can't get down to all those surfaces because they're not nice and planar. Wish they were, but they're not. So the brush actually has the ability to get in and clean those areas much better. And we're going to try to really push hard to brush and then use our gator with our sander on it to treat after that. It's one of the things we're going to attempt to see how well that works. This is designed to quickly change from the snowblower to the brush so we can make that happen during a snow event. So it can be new learning for us. I've seen them use the brush at the Jetport. It was one of the first places I saw it, and I've talked to other people. And actually, we can use the brush and light snow up to about 4 inches worth of snow without even having to use a snowblower. It will make it go away. So that's what this is for. I don't know if you have questions concerning the equipment. We did have money budgeted in the budget for a purchase of a machine as a lease payment. So happy to answer any questions. It's not nearly as exciting as some of the stuff you've heard tonight, but really kind of the nuts and bolts to help us keep going.
Yeah.
Scott?
Are we getting any type of a warranty on this?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I did not anticipate that question. we are purchasing from Hall's Implement right down the road from us.
Okay.
Okay, we did look at three different pieces of equipment. It was the best value as far as cost goes. Also, in our opinion, looking at it, and Chris, you jump in, it looked to be the most durable and industrial of the equipment that we looked at.
We did some field trips this summer to some of our neighboring districts in the middle of July who had this exact same mower. And out of the mowers that we were looking at, I can't believe I had field trips on mowers, but for this particular
I can
model,
totally believe that about
Lake Region has 3, if not 4 of them, and they bought them because of some of the hills and terrain. They've had some great success with them. Gorham has a couple of them as well. We have had great luck with the John Deere, and specifically the 3-cylinder diesels that have gone along with this. The Toro we had for a while, it reached a point though where the cost of replacing the transmission was more than what actually the machine was worth. But some of the districts we looked at were getting a minimum of between 3,500 and 4,000 hours, and they were still going strong. So. And Halls has been very, very good to us as far as getting equipment in, repaired quickly, and then back to us. And it would be standard manufacturer's warranty, but we can get that information back to the board. It is an important piece of equipment for us to have, and Bill is absolutely right. We pay a significant amount of money right now in workers' comp insurance. That's a 3-year mod, if you want to think about it that way, where they look at the 3 previous years of experience. Fortunately, the last 2 have been really, really good. The previous year to the 3 was horrible because of some accidents. And so we are looking to do everything that we can to reduce those slip, trips, and falls, because there's significant budget savings for what now we're paying in workers' comp insurance. Neighborhood of almost $100,000 of savings if we can get this number down.
And the impact's bigger in the fact that now we're finding a sub and that teacher's not there and that relationship with the kid isn't there. So it's actually much bigger than filling a hole, because you don't really do that when someone's gone for 6 weeks.
Any other questions, Scott?
Yep. I got a degree in turf grass management and managed 4 golf courses, so I got a couple of questions. How big is the mower deck?
I can tell you that because I have the information on the mower here with me.
Are you gonna ask to borrow it now?
I kind of do. Yeah.
I think it's 72.
It's a 72 inch.
72. And is it coming with the bucket loader on the front?
It's a front push mower.
Oh, okay. So the attachment is actually on the front.
Attachment's on the front, rear steering.
Okay.
Does it have any cup holders?
Well, that's a good question.
It's built on the same frame as the old John Deere 935, 911.
Oh my God.
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right.
I have the complete specs right here. I can share with both of you. I'm happy to give you a copy of it.
Nope, I was just curious about the attachments.
So the snow blower is a 60-inch, just so you're aware of that. So is the rotary broom, and 72-inch. It's a commercial side discharge pro mower. So,
cool, excellent.
So I have a question.
Sure.
As amazing as that is, does the brush attachment? Do you have to get off, attach the brush?
Right. So it's all front attachment. So the mower, the snow blower, and the brush is all in the front.
Okay.
So it's made to quickly take off and switch to the next device. Yeah.
That was my one question. Yes. I want one at my house. Okay, could I have a motion, please, if nobody else has any questions?
I move to authorize the superintendent to enter into a financing agreement for the lease purchase of the awarded bid for 3 years John Deere mower with attachments through Androscoggin Bank at $39,739.13 at 2.9% fixed, amortized over 3 years at an annual cost of $13,634.60. Should that be in the best interest of the district pursuant to 20A MRSA subsection 4001-3 in the format presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment? Any board discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have another motion, please? I move that the vote entitled Vote to Authorize Lease Purchase of a John Deere Mower with Attachments in the principal amount of up to $39,739.13 be adopted in form presented to this meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment? Any board discussion?
Can I just inform the board, the reason you're
Yes.
taking the second vote is you're actually giving me permission now to spend the money.
Right. All those in favor? No oppositions? Motion carries. Superintendent's report. Thank you, Bill.
Sure, a couple things that want to have the opportunity to share with the board tonight and share with the public. First of all, we have the 3 stop arms, extended stop arms that we have purchased as a district. They have arrived. They are in district. Unfortunately, the switches that the bus driver uses to engage the switch and control box that were shipped were sent for Bluebird buses. We don't run Bluebird buses, we run Thomas buses, and so those have been reshipped. They should be here hopefully on Friday, and we're hoping by the beginning of next week in order to be able to get our first ones out on the road and be able to give those a try. So
Great.
pretty excited with that. Also, I think I had shared with the board last time that we're moving now to an app for parents and buses. Mike Pelletier, I thank Mike, he's done all the work behind the scenes now to integrate email with the information with students' ID numbers. Those are going to be starting to be launched tomorrow. It's going to take 24 hours so we don't crash our email system, but parents will start seeing that. Had the opportunity Friday night to go see Sister Act at the Wyndham High School Performing Arts Center, and just want to congratulate Rob Juergens, Rick Nickerson for their work, and then also Pat Hutchinson, Casey Hutchinson, Wesley Evans for the costumes this year. Absolutely amazing. And then also want to congratulate our cast members. It takes a tremendous amount of time, and our pit band and our tech crew. Absolute tremendous amount of time to put that together, and it was definitely a professional quality show. Quite proud of the work that they've done. Paula Pock, who's a high school teacher, she just received an Echo Maine grant for recycling bins for Wyndham High School, and so that a composting program can now start in that cafeteria. And Paula is looking to work with the Katahdin program students to purchase materials and then work with Katahdin to build some of the enclosures and things for now some garbage to gardens and some compost coming out of our largest cafeteria. And then next week's Thanksgiving week, Wednesday, school will not be in session. That is a comp day for teachers for parent conferences. Central office will be open, so if you want to swing by to say Happy Thanksgiving to the RSU 14 Central Office staff, you are more than welcome to come over and do that. But again, wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for what's been a great fall for RSU 14.
Thank you.
We allowed to ask questions?
Yes, you are.
Just while it's on my mind, Chris, in terms of the stop arms, is it the intention that these stop arms that we're putting on our current bus fleet, when a particular bus is ready to be retired, are we planning on removing that and just installing it on the new bus? Like, are we going to be able to reuse these?
Yeah, they're a bolt-on item with a pneumatic arm that it was integrated in the bus. There isn't any reason why, unless it's reached the end of its useful life, that we can't pull it off and reuse it.
All right, good.
So that would definitely be our hope. There's a group from Odyssey of the Mind that is it's actually called Odyssey Angels. It's a national nonprofit connection to Odyssey of the Mind that's working with Wyndham and Raymond PTA for doing a little bit of fundraising, and I think they've fundraised a couple arms already. So we'll be looking to order those as soon as we can. Spoke to Mike Kelly this morning. The installation really wasn't that bad to do. It was just the control box, the wiring was too short to integrate into our buses. So it's coming. It's coming, and we hope to get them out on some of our more difficult routes. And I believe there'll be an article either this week or sometime beginning next week in Keep Maine Current papers about their project and all that's going on in Wyndham and Raymond with bus arms. Thank you.
Okay, election of school board chair. Nominations are now in order for the office of chair until December 2020.
I would like to nominate Janie Cummings for chair.
Second.
Are there any further nominations? Okay, I declare the nominations closed. Oh, I move to close nominations, sorry.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any board discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I move to appoint Janie Cummings as chair until December 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any board discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Nominations are now in order for the office of vice chair until December 2020.
I nominate Kate Bricks for vice chair.
Second.
Are there any more further nominations? If not, the motion to close nominations is in order. I move to close nominations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? No. Okay. I move to appoint Kate Bricks as vice chair until December 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any board discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
Let's keep the good thing going.
Thank you. Now it's now time for the board roundtable. Anybody have?
I'll go first.
Jenny.
I will echo what Mr. Howell said about Sister Act. If you get an opportunity to see it this weekend, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon, I believe. We saw it Saturday night. They did an absolutely fabulous job.
Great.
Absolutely wonderful. Number two, I got the opportunity to be at my first committee meeting, and it was the math curriculum meeting yesterday. And looking forward to learning a whole lot and seeing a whole lot more of what's going on.
And you got to do math.
I love to do math.
That's great. Anybody else?
Yep. So I went to parent-teacher conferences, I think it was last week, and I just kind of wanted to share with you guys real quickly that the new math curriculum that has been rolled out seems like it's actually being very well received by a lot of teachers. It seems like it's being pretty well received by even the students. My daughter really does enjoy math now.
Yeah.
She really likes the aspect where kids, it's more social. Kids are able to communicate more about how to solve a problem. I think that this new math curriculum is going to be a very good thing for this district. So I just kind of wanted to share that success.
That's great.
So.
Anna?
Tomorrow is the Jordan Small Middle School girls basketball team first game. So I just want to wish them good luck in their first game.
Oh,
Might be the boys
yay.
as well too, but I have a girl, so that's the one I know about. So good luck to both of the teams.
Is that
great.
home or away?
It's away.
Anybody else? Okay. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
It's been moved and
Second.
seconded. All those in favor? Thank you and good night. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.